Hi, this is Rich Eiler with the North Point Group. Today I'm going to talk about unlocking real business value by establishing and maintaining a collaborative relationship between service provider and customer. Over approximately the next 10 to 15 minutes, I will expose you to a methodology and software solution called Outsourcing Value Analysis, OVA for short. The solution and approach provide a strategic governance framework to align and connect the enterprise, business, and budget model to the business strategy, enhance business model understanding and communication, drive cultural change through collaboration, identify the business risks and value opportunities with the analytics to eliminate the root causes of performance impediments, improve standards, regulation, and compliance performance, accurately identify the enterprise performance compared to best in class. In addition, the product identifies the unmet and unidentified needs to transform business processes to be resilient, identify innovation opportunities in the process to measure and deliver it, improve the identification of the required data, information, and knowledge to support the precision of the decisions and the operational implementation of the business strategy. What is OVA and where in the sales cycle can the product be used? OVA has been used hundreds of times with new customer after down select, pre or post contract, current customer during implementation or contract duration, or dissatisfied customer pre-renewal. Now, what is OVA? OVA is an objective assessment of the entire outsourcing relationship. It's a repeatable methodology to identify and quantify risk and value opportunities. It's prescriptive product to address identified risks and prioritize activities based on ROI to create the risk mitigation plan. It's also a software and database that identifies the fundamental business activities that are most important for maximizing value. Every step, task, and process that supports the fundamental business activity is weighted in terms of importance to the success of the relationship and value attainment. Stakeholders give a consensus score on each of approximately 140 steps, tasks, and processes during a facilitated session. The stakeholder session is completed in a few hours. So, what does OVA address? It prioritizes identified risk and value opportunities. This information is provided to improvement teams to work on the root cause, the solutions, and eventually the implementation. It identifies irritants to be addressed before they become larger issues. It is a collaborative process to identify and develop new value opportunities based on analytics compared to best in class. Provides an approach and environment for continuously monitoring areas of potential risk and reward. And it enables key stakeholders to gain alignment on outsourcing strategies and value expectations. What are the process steps? Step 1, baseline value risk assessment, a facilitated session with key stakeholders, taking approximately 4 to 6 hours. It can be done separately, just with the customer side, with the service provider side, or together, depending on the circumstances. Step 2, baseline gap analysis and management report. So the scores that are of the statements that are accomplished in step 1 comprised of the fundamental business activities and the supporting steps, tasks, and processes that are captured, as well as the issues, then are run against the database to develop the predictive analytics and prescriptive activities to address. Step 2 is followed by step 3, value risk solution session. Once again, it's a facilitated session with the key stakeholders, taking approximately 4 to 6 hours. Once again, can be done separately with just the customer side, the service provider side, or together. If it's done separately, we have step 4, closing the gaps. This is where we bring the two teams together, if done separately, to review the gaps identified in the baseline assessment session, as well as what's discussed in the solution session, in order to develop those action plans. Because the team of stakeholders have performed this on themselves, they have a deep understanding and a deep buy-in and follow-through from the collaborative methodology and approach. Finally, step 5. This can be repeatable every 90, 120, 180 days. It really depends on what those activities, what those mitigation plans are, what those action plans are that are deriving for improvement. So, what is the value to both the service provider and the customer? Based on our experience, service providers have increased their revenues, both from a consulting standpoint and outsourcing standpoint, significantly over a 3-year period. You can see at the bottom chart here where in year 1, 8%, 12%, 15 to 25, and then the consulting revenues. For a typical account, the service provider should expect cost savings in addition to the additional revenue. Resolution of issues and the implementation of them drive the cost savings. Cost savings that are typically achieved are 11% in year 1, 16.6%, and 17.7% in year 3. This is accomplished due to the identified improvements that are being driven from the sessions. The account leadership is able to identify, quantify, and validate the improvement opportunities on average 70 to 80 days earlier than traditional methods, therefore enabling the increased revenues and improved margins to be achieved faster. So, now let's look at the top of this page in this chart. It shows the difference between the customer and service provider scoring from the original baseline assessment to the 4th assessment. So if you look at overall performance, issue management, and communications, you can see the overall performance improved significantly from the customer team. The number of issues went up once they realized they had an area, a format, a process to actually address the issues, and then they decreased by the 4th session. And you can see the improvement in communications from the 50s and 60% up to the high 70s or 80%. So this information that on this chart is based on 44 customers where the SLA was scored at least 85% or higher, and the agreements were somewhere between year 2 and year 5. So significant impact for the service provider, significant impact for the customer because the process works. So how does it work in the rebid situation? You can see here 28 service providers used OVA to address their issues where customers were either committed to or strongly considering rebidding. The SLA scores varied from 85 to 91%. The performance on the first assessment was in the upper 40s to the mid-50s, where best in class is around 90-some%. After that first assessment and moving to the second assessment, you can see the significant improvement, 15.5 to 20.7 percentage points. So the percent increase was significant. The performance increase was significant, between 10.5 and 23.7% in the first year, and you can see the improvement in the second year. Relative to the retention, 21 of the 28, or 75% of the customers, eliminated or rescheduled the rebid process. Ultimately, 11 customers rebid their outsourcing service requirements. 5 customers stayed with the service provider. 6 customers changed their service provider. Significant impact on rebid situations. Now, back to unlocking real business value by establishing and maintaining the collaborative relationship. So, 3 areas: knowledge. Building knowledge by gathering and assessing the required data about the fundamental business activities and how they're impacted. Insight. Creating that insight via the structured analysis in comparison to the best-in-class database to predict outcomes based on what we call current course and speed. So the solution is prescriptive, the solution is predictive, and you can look at the ROI to achieve peak performance. And finally, the value. Substantially increases the alignment and support of the business leadership due to the real value being delivered, understanding across both internal and external customers, key stakeholder ownership of whether it's outsourcing, shared services, or a hybrid, and the buy-in and follow-through on the assessment. the recommendations. The collaborative process makes the difference. So I can increase the knowledge of the internal people, uncover unmet and unidentified needs to create the additional new value, identify opportunities for real process transformation, and I'm going to increase the CAP, what we call the knowledge, experience, and performance of the organization. Significant value, knowledge, insight, value. Thank you for this quick overview. If you have more questions or like more information, visit the Northpoint website, www.thenorthpointgroup.net, or contact any Northpoint associate. Thank you very much.